So what they're saying, right? Just be clear for our audience, because I actually read that article. I didn't look at that.
Welcome to the Jury's Out podcast where you come to watch attorneys and their friends discuss their unique perspectives on social issues. And it's raw, uncut, because no one's around, because
the jury's out.
That's right.
How's everyone doing? My name is Eugene Toussaint, and I'm here with Raven Terrell and Desiree Tiburcio. Did I get that one right?
Desi.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Don't say the R.
Yeah, there's no R.
I knew I was going to fuck that up. There was fair warning. And my co-hosts, Everett Hopkins and Jack
good?
Gomez.
Yeah,
Say hello to
you
the
know.
audience.
Yeah, what's good, y'all? What's good?
So, feels good to be back. It's been a while.
Yes, it has.
It's been a while.
It's been a long time.
So, today on the Jury's Out podcast, we're here to discuss social workers and their important role in society, especially during these rough times of COVID.
Yup. Wow.
Yes.
Shit. I knew I needed someone to talk to.
Word. I was tired of talking to myself.
There's a lot of thoughts up in that head.
Right?
Bro.
Yeah, bro.
Now,
Some things only make sense to me.
That's
Now-
fair. That's valid.
before we start, what I would say is, in prepping for this podcast, I did not know that social workers had their own practice.
What?
That's
We
a fact.
out here.
did not
Doing
know
a
that.
thing.
I did not know that was a thing. That was,
Yeah.
when I read that, I was like, practice?
Right.
What's a practice?
Yeah.
I thought like y'all were like, employed by the city.
Yo,
And,
I thought that
and
was the
that's
only
it.
government job. Yo.
I mean, we can be, but you got to chase this coin and help the people at the same time. So
Facts. All right. So the audience, or at least we hope, knows who we are. So please introduce yourself to the audience and then tell us a little bit about your background before we get
Desi.
started.
You can go first.
okay, my name is Raven. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I've been practicing social work for about 8 years now. How much I want to know? Okay.
How much you want to tell?
So, graduated from NYU. Undergrad, I went to
Nice.
HBCU. Shout out Virginia State.
That's the wrong one.
Yes,
Wrong one.
Trojan Pride. What you
yeah,
went to?
Yeah, you see the computer now.
I see it.
You see the computer now. Hampton. All right. Don't say the other HU. It's Hampton.
The illustrious Virginia State University. Hill State, thank you.
Listen, after we graduate, it's all love. So
It's all
fine.
love.
It's
You
all
went to
good.
HBCU, that's all that
That's
matters.
it.
College of
That's
Mount St. Vincent. I don't think that matters to anybody.
to me. It's valid.
That's cute.
Stay in your lane.
Oh, that's cute. Wait. Hold on.
But yeah, I just recently started my private practice in March of this year, 2021. And I convinced my fellow social worker therapist to start her own. So,
Yes.
we're very excited. I don't know how much you want me to say, but
Well, we're gonna get into exactly how that works and having your own practice. Before we do,
Okay.
let them know who you.
All right. So
who we're
my name
talking
is
to.
Desi A.
Desi A.
Tiburcio.
There you go.
And I'm a LCSW. I'm only licensed in the New York State.
Oh, that's
I've been
important.
practicing for about the same time, 8 years. I also have been working in the community, providing services, individual psychotherapy, and what schools did I go to? College of Mount St. Vincent.
Trio.
Trio.
That's cute. That's
right.
Yeah. I'm not gonna downplay my experience. That school was a lot of money. Okay, yes, MSV. Cuckoo. Okay.
EX baby.
And then for graduate school, I went to Stony Brook University. And that was an experience. And then, I moved back to the Bronx, and I've been practicing ever since and started, Raven walked me through, and she's like, do your private practice, get your coins, girl. I'm like, yes, girl. Yes.
So you rattled off a bunch of letters at the beginning of your introduction. Can you go over that again?
Okay, so licensed clinical social worker. So you begin as a MSW, right? So the MSW, it just means Masters in Social Work.
Okay.
So once you graduate your master's, you can add the 3 letters to your name. Then the first step is taking a licensure exam, state exam, and then that's when you add the L. So that means you're licensed to practice and provide individual psychotherapy in the New York State.
So now, is there like a major you have to?
Social work.
Social work.
Just social work
Yeah,
major?
social
Okay.
work, yeah.
And then how long does it take to you to get your master's in?
So 2 years.
2 years.
2 years, yeah.
Real easy.
And then you could do an
Or you made
accelerated
it look
program.
easy. That's what
No,
it is.
honestly, to me, and I always tell people, like, if you want to do anything, go to school in social work because you could really do anything with an MSW.
Yeah.
And grad school, I mean, I got into NYU, so surprised about that because, I mean, I'm an okay student. And then it was really easy. And I don't know if it's because you're doing what you love. If it was because you only had 2 papers a semester. And it's 2
2
years.
papers a semester.
Oh, yeah, girl.
So the MSW is what you get after grad school, or
Yeah.
That's what you get in grad school.
that's what you get in grad school. Okay. And that's what allows you to practice individually.
That's what allows you to take the licensing exam. So then you could practice individually. And the only difference between a LMSW, licensed master of social work, and LCSW, licensed clinical social worker, is that one requires you to have supervision. So when you get your LM, you have to get a number of supervisory hours, and you have to be supervised by a C. Then you take another test, and then you get your C, and then you could just do whatever you want, basically.
All right, so I feel like, because I'm having a hard time following this.
Okay.
Let's just kind of.
A lot of letters.
Yeah, 'cause
She was like,
Elemental P.
Hey, yo.
I feel like, all right. So I think there's when people imagine when they hear social worker, right? They kind of like think of something, or like I don't know.
Go ahead and
You
say it.
take people's kids.
I don't take nobody's kid.
Right. That's what I thought.
I feel like that's what people go to because it's the most dramatic.
No, that takes someone's
That-
kids.
yeah.
So it's like the most shocking
Yeah.
aspect of.
I gotta go to you to get food stamps. That's what I'm taking.
Oh,
Damn.
I mean, sometimes the same thing. All in the same amount.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to say is like,
So
there's
social
like-
work is not just therapy.
It's therapy. There's social workers in the prison setting.
Yeah.
There's I know
Social
that,
workers at
once-
prosecutor's office,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
I worked at.
Yeah, so we're public defenders and we have social workers. So I guess what I'm trying to, the reason why I said that is I'm trying to phrase my question is that when you graduate out of college, what cannot you do? Like kind of tear it off in that section.
Okay, all right.
So people can kind of understand like, oh, okay, if I go to college, I can get this job.
There's levels to this.
There's levels to this, and then because I feel like you guys are at a level that maybe I didn't even know existed, and our audience probably. So we should start off with the levels lower,
Okay.
and then get to where you guys at to better understand. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So,
I got you.
okay, so I'll bring it back. In undergrad, I got my BS in psychology.
Yes.
Right? So I thought that in order to be a therapist, you had to get a degree in psychology and go up and get like a doctorate, right? After I graduated, I applied to grad school, didn't get in. But I started working at a nursing home, and at that nursing home, I met the director of social work. The director of social work, she had an MSW and she went to NYU. So then she told me, get your social work license. You can do anything. And I was like, for real? Because I only thought, oh, you want to take people kids? I don't want to take people kids. I don't even like doing home visits. Like, I don't want to be at nobody's house.
That's the stigma. That's what they believe. You know?
Exactly. So when she explained to me that it's truly so broad, which is kind of hard to answer your question, because you could work in policy, you can work in like ACS, you can do anything.
I kind of get where you're trying to. So with the MSW, right? Like once you graduate fresh without a license, you can work in like foster care without a license. You can work in like hospital settings that are not directly patient,
it's
like
kind of like the class
DV shelters, public
schools. Yeah.
Or what we think social workers are. Or at least what I.
Right.
No, yeah. Listen,
Public
I
schools,
had
you
no
can't.
Idea. I had
Yeah.
no idea that you can just do all of these different facets of things. I had no idea. So
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a
so,
lot.
So basically, you're kind of like, if you did a poll on the streets and go, oh, what do you think social workers do? That's like just the tip of the iceberg.
Yes.
That's at the very beginning. That's like, and then you went to college for psychology.
I didn't.
You didn't necessarily. What did you go to college for?
Sociology.
Yeah, same shit.
No, it's not. It's not. Do not do that.
Well, psychology, you studying Piaget and shit like that.
What is the
Oh,
study of
yes,
But like in social work, you just watching people on the street and seeing how.
yes.
I took a sociology class, and she was like, one of the assignments was like go and sit in the cafeteria
And watch
and like just watch people and write
Yes,
down that weird behaviors.
How do people like
And I was
come
just like,
together? Yes.
I'm just gonna make this shit up. Because I was the type when I was in college, like I was like, I don't want to be here. I just want to be here for my classes. I'm not
Right.
chilling
Right.
here.
Yeah,
Like,
makes
I wanna
sense.
go home.
Yeah.
So I just went home and I watched TV and I just watched the people in the background of the shows that I was watching.
Right.
And I was like, no, I'll just.
Wow.
Nah, that's another
If
level.
the teacher's hearing this,
Yo, you can't do nothing to me now, yo. I already been got
I'm
my
gonna
grade.
change your grade.
I got it. I'm out school.
I studied psychology in college, and I loved it. I went to class, I enjoyed it. I was like, oh, this is why this asshole's doing this asshole thing. I feel like psychology.
Basically.
I feel like psychology really helps you. I feel like psychology. I always knew I wanted to be a lawyer, and I was like, I gotta talk to people. I'm pretty sure I gotta talk to people when I get this job, and psychology is gonna help me understand them so I could lawyer them better. And that's
Right,
literally
yes.
That makes
that's literally
sense.
how I started in my mind. I'm
That's a
gonna
good
lawyer these
mindset.
people better if I understand them.
Right. No, that makes sense. That's valid.
But yeah, so okay, so
Tell more lawyers to take psychology courses.
you think?
Yeah, they
I
need it.
mean, wait, what you mean by that?
Okay, so a little bit more about me. I also worked in the prosecutor's office.
Oh.
I won't say where.
Why not? Throw them under the bus. Over the bus.
No,
Wherever you
no.
wanna
We
throw
don't
'em.
do that.
I
You
also
don't-
I worked
don't
in
do
the human trafficking unit. So I worked
Oh,
with
that wasn't
survivors
fun.
of human trafficking. I was out here in these streets, helping the people, rescuing the individuals,
Yeah.
right? And certain lawyers don't really have that bedside manner
At all.
right? Like where you can see like this person has been through like a traumatic experience, and I get that you have to ask them like all of these questions because you need to know A, B, and C, and D. But certain lawyers, certain police officers just don't know when to stop.
Yep.
And maybe if they had that psychology course, then you can like see the nonverbal language to say like, hey, maybe I gotta chill right now.
So I don't
That's a fact.
I don't want to shit on the prosecution office that you worked at.
I worked with defense lawyers too.
It
I
was, it was
was
bad.
gonna say,
So that was the
it's-
thing. Was it?
It shit cuts both ways.
Did you feel the same way at the defense attorney office? Because I would say what you're describing is more of a product, not a product of lawyers, but products of prosecutors.
So let me just say it like this.
They about their convictions. They about those convictions.
I worked with good prosecutors, like not prosecutors that was just chasing a conviction rate, like prosecutors that actually cared about what was happening and giving out full fair sentences, right? And I don't know if it's because the type of crime type that we worked in, but I've also seen prosecutors who were right.
But I guess which ones were treating the victims worse? Probably the conviction chasers, I would guess.
No, I mean I don't agree with you. Not
Oh,
from
really?
not from my experiences. I mean I didn't work at a defense attorney's office, but I worked with them.
Okay.
With like some cases, like in trafficking cases, right? People may get arrested for prostitution related crimes, right? But then they speak to their lawyer, and it turns out no, you was actually a victim of sex trafficking. So then you'll come and do a it's been a minute. I forgot what it was called. The little meeting with the prosecutor.
Proffer?
Yes, a proffer.
Right.
And then you'll do a proffer. So we did a
They
lot of
They
that
want those pimps.
together.
They want those pimps.
So I mean, I've
Give us
seen
your
good
pimp.
people on both sides,
We'll let
but
you go, but you give us your pimp. I'm sorry.
no, it's fine.
Pimp just sounds funny.
Sometimes they need to give up the pimp, but I've also seen prosecutors that you got to do better.
You got to do better. Yeah.
Nah, it goes both ways. Like, that's really, and me and Gian talked about this on the show. Like, a lot of times the only issue that clients will have with an attorney is not their knowledge base. They know what they're talking about. It's how you handle your client. Like,
Right.
how do you talk to them? Are you talking to them like they're human and that they're actually in control of this case?
Right.
Because they have the final say. So are you going to actually engage them and include them in these conversations that you're having with the prosecutor? Or are you just going to let them, like, don't worry, I'll talk to you when we're going to trial?
Yeah, I mean, that's,
You know?
Right.
like, it's so funny. I see so much stress of my coworkers, and it's like, what I realize is that half that stress or half of that their angry client comes from just not allowing that conversation to be 3 minutes longer,
Talk
5
about
minutes
it.
longer, because just that, like, all right, this is you're in your feelings in this moment. This is when I should give you my time, because if I give you my time in this moment, you will not stop calling me. And I know a bunch of lawyers who are just like, oh, this motherfucker calls me all the time. It's probably because you don't answer his
talk
fucking
to him.
questions.
Right.
Yeah.
Where it's like, if you like, there's a bunch of my clients where like I really answer their questions, and really make them understand. And then after that, if they're still being kind of like a little extra, I can tell them like, yo, my man, didn't I tell you that already? And they'll be like, you right. You right, Mr. Eugene.
Oh, you just
I
got
love
that
Mr.
conversation.
Eugene. I get Mr. Eugene. I don't know why. Like, Mr. Eugene?
Because they can't pronounce your last name probably.
Hell nah. Hell no. They're calling me tiramisu. They're calling me Mr. Eugene because they think my last name is Mr. Eugene. But I just find it funny. But it's like, Mr. Eugene, I just don't understand. It's like, I got you. I'm going to make you understand. Because then you're not going to call me for the rest of my life.
But I also feel like the exposure, like if you've been doing the job for a long time, you kind of like become cold.
Nah. Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like,
You get a little jaded.
Yeah. You just another case. Like,
Right.
give me the information and get out of my office because I've heard this.
Nah,
story,
but
like
you know
it's
the funny
like,
thing is, I don't actually
I've
think
seen
that's
that.
true.
But I wouldn't be surprised that
Well,
some individual. I'm sure it's individual. The situation would be individual.
Let me recharacterize what I'm saying. I definitely do think the more jaded you become, the shorter you become, right? But if you were short to begin with, you're just getting shorter, right? If you gave people time because you understood they needed it, yes, jadedness will definitely shave that time off. And a lot of times, you need that. Like, I appreciate my jaded. That shit gets me through the day. I was giving a lot of motherfuckers time, but not in a bad way. I don't mean that in a bad way. Social workers
We don't judge. We do not judge.
should judge.
Apply that pressure.
Distance is important. But I just mean that, like, I think bedside manner is one of those things where it's like, if you don't have it, you don't have it. And that jadedness is only going to make it worse. But like you said, the funny thing is, I don't even know if I think psychology, my experience with taking psychology course is that it made me understand something I wanted to understand, right? But if you don't have the desire to understand your fellow person and why they're doing this, or why they should be given, not a pass is the wrong word, but why they should be understood for why they're doing the thing they're doing, the pain that, like that they're projecting pain and yada, 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 psychology shit.
I see you.
But if you don't have that desire, and it doesn't matter if you understand it or don't understand it. You know what I'm saying? Because psychology is teaching you how to understand it, but you still have to apply it.
Right.
Exactly.
And do the work.
Man, when I was in college, man, I hated dating girls who were taking psychology, man.
Why?
You sound like my boyfriend.
I was just like, oh, you a psychology major? I'm walking away, man. Because they were brain ninjas. Like I feel like psychology is important,
Wow.
but I also feel like psychology is a sword that cuts both ways, right? So if you're really good at psychology, you can manipulate motherfuckers, right? You can say, oh, well,
it's effective communication.
Yeah.
It's
It
not
can also be used as a
manipulation.
weapon, right? It can also be used as a
And
weapon.
if you are a good sailor, you can sail the oceans well. That's what psychology is. The mind is an ocean, and if you know what you're doing, you can go anywhere.
No, but when I was in grad school, my first semester, my boyfriend had that same thing because he was like, yo, not for nothing, don't talk to me like you one of my clients.
Yes.
Why you reading everything that I'm doing? And I'm like,
I'm not reading.
I'm just properly communicating with you, right?
Yo, it's a fact. Yo, my wife to this day stopped lawyering me. We're going back and forth, and I'm hitting down points after points after points. I'm lawyering you now? This where we at?
You got a chart on the wall. You're like, look, this is connected to this.
Wow.
Guilty.
You did it.
My wife doesn't even try. She knows what this is. You better, if you're gonna go to war, you better bring her back.
Oh no.
But all right, let's get slightly more on track.
Moving right along.
Raven, you didn't know you wanted to be a psychologist. Or which one? I'm sorry.
No, I didn't know I wanted to be a therapist,
That's
but
what
I
I
didn't
meant.
know
Social.
that I could do that as being a social worker.
Exactly. So what got you into being a social worker was this colleague who told you that.
Basically, apply to NYU.
Okay, and then so I guess continued on that road. So how did that?
Well, once I got to NYU, it was interesting because I thought that it would be more of a PWI, but it had like a really strong Asian population, which was
What's a PWI?
a predominantly white
You
institution.
see? You see?
He looked
They
at
don't
me.
be, they don't be, no, you see the look, right? Yo, shout out to HBUs. Real quick. Shout them out.
Not to cut you off, but where'd you grow up? I was just wondering.
Oh, I grew up in the Bronx.
So when I got to my predominantly white institution, I was more than excited to be around these white people. I was like, oh, it's so nice. It's so safe. And this shit was in the Bronx.
That's a whole okay. So
Well,
no, but that's a good
no.
point
Grad school
because
probably was less valuable.
no, when I went to grad school, it was during Eric Garner.
Oh, okay.
Right? So the height of the Black Lives Matter movement. In the social work program, it could have been more, but I only saw like 5 of us. And everybody else was white.
Yeah.
And we would have these conversations in class,
Yeah.
and
God, I
it would
hated that.
literally be exhausting
Yes.
because you had
Yeah.
people from all over the country like, I didn't know racism exists.
Color
Like,
doesn't matter.
What is white
We're all the
privilege? And it's
same.
like, yo, you from Kansas.
Yo, it's crazy, right? Yeah, you have no
Town
black
of 10 people.
Right.
You have no black friends.
And
see,
then-
Yes,
that's
yes.
why I
Right.
appreciate HBCUs because you can skip that whole dynamic, right?
Right.
Because they'll be stuck on that shit for weeks. And
Literally.
we're not learning nothing because we fucking know that already. You know what I mean? So that's why I appreciate HBCUs, like predominantly white colleges. Y'all cool too. Like, you know, you can learn shit there.
Yeah,
But, like,
I
I'm
value
saying, like,
NYU because it got me where I am today.
Yeah, yeah.
But
like, I went to CUNY
VSU
Law,
made me.
You know, so
Desiree, what grad school did you go to?
Stony Brook, also predominantly white. I was there was only 2 Spanish girls, and yeah. all
Were
my-
y'all friends? Just curious.
No.
I wasn't friends with none of the black people at NYU.
what?
Not
There was-
really. Like
there was
not
no
like
sense of
people I
unity.
chill with.
No, there was no sense of unity. There wasn't, at least from my experience, there wasn't like a committee or anything in the social work department that fostered unity.
So I feel like we're already touching on a core issue, which is that these jobs, public defenders, social workers, they're not predominantly, but they're jobs to help and support minority communities.
Yeah.
Do you feel like
No.
it's-
The representation is
No, they're
yeah.
being filled
No.
by
Yes, and
people who do not look like us.
Right.
so
Yeah.
yeah,
Who
so-
don't come from where we come from.
and
Right.
that's so let's grad school. Y'all got degrees, cool. Let's get
Yeah.
to the work.
Yeah.
Like, do you in the same thing that we're talking about how these colleges are not like creating the people that need to fill these jobs? Do you feel like there's a disparity or like basically that your job is in the same way being affected? Like they're not like black and brown people aren't effectively being supported and provided resources, given the fact that they're not hiring the right people. And that's maybe the wrong way to say it, but you know, does that make sense? No.
I get what you're trying. Basically, like, you know, because the people who are giving the help don't look like us, how can they really?
help us.
Is that affecting?
I think they can help us, but like in my position, right? Like I'm a Spanish speaker, right? So I do therapy in Spanish, right? And if I was to work for like a nonprofit or a for-profit, to replace me is really hard. Like there's it's really a challenge to find a Spanish speaker who can provide services to the community who speaks Spanish, right? So that there is I don't know what's happening. I don't know if we're not graduating, if
So yeah,
Or
that's,
maybe
that's,
we're just not picking those jobs.
Right.
right,
Right.
that too.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, it's kind of crazy. Like, you know, you're part of the community that needs help, and that there's not a lot that speaks Spanish, like in that community, which is it's just wild to me. So, like what Jack was saying, like, are we picking these jobs, or are they keeping us out? You know,
I don't think
know.
it's keeping it up. I think if you look at like mental health in the urban environment, it's kind of like a we don't talk about
Yeah,
it. You know, like I have
frowned upon,
in my
yeah.
family and my friends' family. If you have a problem, you just deal with it on your own. It's,
Right.
it's not really something
Yeah.
you want to bring
What
up.
happens in the house stays in the house.
Exactly. So and then your house is also your mind. And so
Right.
I feel like because
Oh, I love that. Your house is also.
Right. Let me write that down. That might be a post later.
so I feel like because of that cultural stigma,
Yeah.
you know, our people who are younger than us, aren't gonna take those jobs and be like, oh, that's what I want to do.
Right.
Even though they see the disparity every day in their culture in their homes.
Well, I think also too is that you don't really see people that look like you doing these jobs.
Yeah.
Right? So like the reality is that people of color may have interacted with a social worker in their lifetime, but
Yep.
how many of those social workers look like them? And if I don't see that you look like me, I don't think I could be there.
Right.
I actually think it's a more obvious answer in that I didn't graduate college to get a job I don't think is about to make that paper. I'm not saying I
Right.
think that this conversation
We
is,
don't make that paper either.
Not yet. Not yet.
Starting out.
Nobody makes that paper starting out.
I think a lot of people, especially from communities I grew up in the Bronx, is when I went to law school, I had this perception in my mind of what it was going to be and why I was doing it. And I keep it 100 with you. I didn't want to be a public defender. I didn't think I was going to be a public defender. I got smoked in my first 1L year, and I went to a professor, and I was like, how can I turn this shit around? He's like, well, certain jobs are more practical than other jobs. You should go for that direction. That's how I became a public defender. But so I think that could be a factor in it. So I'm using this as a segue. You guys have your private practice. How does that work? And is there more money in the social work game than what's commonly understood?
So 2 things. I can tell you my parents did not want me to be a social worker because they said you're not going to make money to pay your student loans.
Okay.
And to one extent, they were right. And I feel like that's the problem. Like people need to value the importance of mental health more, and most importantly, pay us to help the people. 2, I started my private practice because recognizing that people of color want to speak to a person of color. Where are the people of color? Now, don't get me wrong, we exist, but we don't know how to find them because I barely did. When looking for my own therapist, I was like, where the fuck do I go to find a therapist?
Yeah.
Like,
That's facts.
so I think we can say, and I mean, Desi could say her piece, but we started it because we wanted to help our people.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. I hear you.
And do you feel like the demand is there? And do you feel like I guess it's a good market to enter because there's a great demand?
The demand is there.
Yes.
The problem is that can someone afford it, right?
Yeah.
So this is the thing.
Yeah, I was
it's
gonna
like
ask, if you have a private practice,
You can charge up to.
which I'm sure you can charge whatever you want, right?
Right.
But does my healthcare cover it? You know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
yeah.
Like,
Yes.
like does
So I take insurance. So yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I don't take insurance, but
That's the one.
but people
that gives some people an incentive.
But
to be
people
like,
don't know you have out-of-network benefits.
Yes, a
so
lot
if
of
you
people
have
don't.
out-of-network benefits in your insurance, you can see an out-of-network provider, which would be me, and basically take the bill that I give you, submit it to your insurance, and they'll reimburse you. Now, that could be like maybe the insurance will pay for 80% and then you pay for the 20%, and that's chalked up as a copay. But if you have out-of-network benefits, they do reimburse you. The problem is why I don't take insurance is that you have to have a diagnosis. And I don't think everybody deserves a diagnosis.
Oh, wow.
Sometimes you need somebody to talk to and you don't need that label. Sometimes you do need that diagnosis.
Right.
So once you take insurance, there is a requirement on your entire
Oh my
practice
God.
that applies to your
yes,
practice?
Yes.
Explain how that works.
That's
All right,
wild.
so if you go through your insurance, right, we have to give you a diagnosis the first time we meet you. So
First
we
time.
could barely know you, and we have to formulate with something to put on your chart, saying like this person is presenting with depression or anxiety or might potentially be schizophrenic or whatever. And so we don't have enough time to really fully get to know you. So we have to submit that in order for them to pay for the sessions. Then we have to like submit a treatment plan in order to bill for the rest of the sessions. So it's very like structured for insurances. And that's the downside about using your insurance that there's like a label behind it. There's like they're constantly checking. Did you get better or not? So,
but the flip side is that some people need to use their insurance. Why am I paying for insurance and I can't use it?
Right.
This shit is expensive.
Yeah, it is expensive.
I mean, the medical industry with their insurance companies that's a whole different
ball game.
Sign me up.
beast. It's crazy.
Does these loops predominantly disproportionately affect
Yes.
communities of color? And
Yeah.
Can you explain why that happens and how that works?
Go for it.
You want me to take it?
I'm gonna take it.
I have so many people reach out to me, and the first question is, do you accept insurance?
Okay.
And unfortunately, no, I don't accept insurance, right? I put a little spill in there about out-of-network reimbursement, but, like, I don't have the money to pay out to wait for my insurance to give me the money back, right? I don't know. It doesn't matter what my job is, how much I get paid. If I have kids, kids is expensive. Shout out to Willow.
Willow.
But that does affect people of color who are looking for clinicians of color. And then if you do find somebody who accepts your insurance, 9 times out of 10, they may not be accepting clients or they got a waiting list, because once you're in network with that insurance, then it's almost like the floodgates open, because people know, like, oh, you take this insurance plan? Oh, now I'm going to try to, like, come to you.
Right.
So it does.
That's it.
I'm gonna skip this one.
Leave that alone.
So, so you said you started your practice when?
In March.
The day I passed my LCSW.
The same day.
The same day I text Desi, like, bitch, I passed. I went home and I got an LLC. Like, literally.
Yeah.
So that was like March of 2021. Yeah.
March of 20. Okay.
Then I started in May.
And so, do you guys have like your practice job and then
A full time? Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You heard Willow's name? Yes.
Yeah.
She's expensive.
Yes.
So like
Yeah.
one thing, like, so like you have your own like office space, or like just
Everything's so modern now. We do telehealth.
Yeah, that's
the
one of
house.
the joys of COVID with the whole virtual thing.
I wouldn't say it's a joy.
I
but-
mean, I hate to say joy, but
I mean the joys of working from home.
working from home, but telehealth, and most importantly.
What the unfortunate existence of COVID has created.
Created, yeah.
Right.
Created
Thank
this
you.
avenue.
So
That's more
eloquent.
validated.
So
Yeah, that was
eloquent. Yes.
validated.
We ain't gotta be political,
But because people recognize that telehealth, right, is a thing now.
It's so flexible.
And it's flexible, because think about it. Like, if you do got kids, when do you have time to go to therapy? Or when you have to office, right?
Yeah.
Or depending on what time you get off of work. Like, I
Yeah.
think that was a cause of a lot of, like, no-show rates. If it was, like, raining or snowing, people like, oh, I ain't coming outside. Now it's like, sis, you in your living room. I'm in my living room.
What are we doing this?
so then how do most of your clients like find you, right? And like do they just look you up on Google?
Yes.
Like,
You got a
Where-
poster somewhere where you like.
We advertise, right? So I'm on Psychology Today. I'm in
Therapy for Black girls.
Yes, yeah. So there's all these like websites that help therapists to advertise their themselves.
There's a whole website called Therapy for Black Girls.
Yes.
Can you go in a little bit into that?
Black men can go in there too.
It's
Funny because I heard about Therapy for Black girls on another podcast.
Okay.
And by this time, I think this was like 3 years ago, I didn't even know that it existed. I was like, what the hell is that? And it's basically just an index of different clinicians of color all over the country.
Yeah.
And I believe the person who started it was Dr. Joy. I probably shouldn't say her name just in case it wasn't right. But
Shout out Dr. Joy, man.
But Therapy for Black girls is a really good resource. There's other ones, clinicians of color in private practice. There is
inclusive therapists,
inclusive
there's Latin
therapists.
therapists. There's so many directories that help you find what you're looking for. If you're looking for someone that looks like you, who may understand some of the struggles that you face.
So I noticed y'all are like using the word therapist now. So are y'all like really under that umbrella?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Don't
So
let
then-
nobody convince you different.
Nah,
We
listen,
are.
I take your word. Like, it's
Yeah.
what I'm gonna say. So because the reason I asked that is because my brother, he does psychology.
Right.
And he's been doing that for a couple years now, down in DC. Shout out Justin. And so
Hey, Justin.
Shout out Justin.
I might move
I
to
miss you,
Maryland. Let's
Justin.
make a connection.
so the reason I asked is because like whenever he talks about therapy, I envision like what his sessions are like. He does the telehealth too, but he just now recently opened back his office.
Okay.
So he's having people in person, and they come in, they sit down, and they talk about their problems,
Yeah.
or whatever issues they're having. So how is that exactly different? What you're doing from what he's doing? You know what I mean?
What do you mean, like in person and telehealth?
Yeah, either way, like because
I mean,
Or
I
just
do,
the
I do in
approach.
person. Oh, I mean, the work.
like your advice, right? Because he is strictly psychology and you're social
The-
work.
the
so
ons-
So we don't give advice.
Right.
that's what I'm saying. Like,
We
so,
don't.
Psychology, he don't give advice either.
He don't give advice.
well,
Right.
not a.
I get what you're saying.
I
though.
know.
Yeah.
It's basically the training.
Yeah.
The
okay.
with the
Okay.
approach
What's-
is just
yeah,
like the
yeah.
training, because you have like licensed clinical social workers, you have like licensed mental health therapists, licensed marriage and family therapists, psychiatrists, psychologists. Everybody's training as far as like grad school, like
little
their
different.
approach is different, but at the end of the day,
We
it's
all-
like the same goal.
Yeah, the
Gotcha.
same goal. Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. We all do the same thing.
Yeah, we all learned about Freud.
Yeah, we did. We surely did. We did.
What's that book? DSM or
The
Yes,
D-
DSM-5 is
Look
the
at you, you be knowing.
Shout out
That's
to
the
the
Bible, the
DSM-5.
Holy Grail. To,
Yeah. I look at it to see what I got
work.
every now and then. I
yeah, don't do it on your own. It's dangerous. Do not proceed. yeah. I don't recommend. And don't Google.
Oh, please don't
Don't
Google,
Google,
because
Don't go to what is it? The
WebMD.
WebMD.
Don't do it.
Yeah, because if you stub your toe, you go to WebMD.
Yeah, you
find
better
out
not
you
do
got cancer.
that.
I definitely got cancer now.
So
Yeah, don't do it. Don't do it.
this is the kind of obvious one, but I'm assuming things have gotten worse, better. COVID, what'd that do?
Things have gotten worse. I think that COVID isolated people, and the human connection and the need to socialize and be together and go out and even go to the movies,
Yeah.
Bars, be
Bars.
active, playgrounds. All of that really impacted. So the token COVID babies, and this is actually real. Like, this really impacted people's mental health and their ability to connect. And we're social beings. We are social beings, and we need human connection. And so I think that really put a little damp on people's like mood and ability to like, and you don't want to be home stuck with someone or by yourself, like you said, talking to yourself and like having these thoughts and not having no one to process with or ping ideas.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. Like, we
bouncing
were
off the
not
wall.
stimulated. We were not
Right.
being stimulated. And so I think that really, really impacted people.
But has your business taken off now? Like, are you getting more?
Yeah, I was
business?
gonna get to that. Is it good for business?
Right.
I mean, yes, in theory, yes. But to think of it as like a business, like they say that social workers are always going to be in business, right? Like,
Like
they're-
public
Or
defenders.
should be in business.
Right.
right. Like, so I don't really like to think of it like that. It sounds like really invalidating, but yes.
All that to say,
Yes.
But
No
I
disrespect,
mean,
but
I
your
still
pain is
feel like
helping.
I still feel like
so horrible.
it's not as much of awareness put on it. Like, I still feel like it is still like stigma. Like, maybe you notice like, oh, I don't feel as good as I was feeling before, but I don't know if I should talk to somebody. Like, I don't know how that's gonna look.
And how do you think we change that, especially for minorities, people, women of color? men
You
of
gotta
color?
start with the kids. You gotta
Okay.
start letting kids talk about how they feel and validating your kids and tell them that it's okay. Like, my daughter is 3 years old, and if I tell her no, she'll be like, "Mommy, I'm so sad." And I'll be like, "Why are you sad? It's okay to be sad, but you can't have the lollipop."
right? Yeah,
But no.
It's funny. I was actually having a similar conversation with some of my cousins, and because I got 2 black sons now, and obviously black. Well, no, you
Maybe
never know.
not,
You
right?
never know, right? My bad. But me, I know me, so it's black though. But we had a similar conversation, like 'cause he's 4 now, so he's really starting to express his feelings
Right.
and his emotions,
Right.
and it's like as a black parent, I would be remiss to tell you that your emotions are always going to be accepted by other people.
Mm-hmm.
But in my house, you could always display your emotions,
Right.
like because this is your safe haven. Like,
Yes,
this is
it
your
is.
sanctuary. You
Yeah.
should be able to feel however you want to feel. I'll tell you why you're not getting Cheerios, but you can display your anger. You can display
Right.
your sadness, right?
In appropriate ways.
Now, when you go outdoors, and you get older, whenever there's a black man who is displaying their feelings, it's taken as a threat.
Right.
So you have to be very conscious of that and know that you can't display your feelings a certain type of way. But in this house, display your feelings.
Well,
You
I
know what
mean, I think it's true for, black women, right? Like, I may be angry, but I can't express my angry because then I don't want to look like the angry black woman.
Right. Yeah.
So that I'm gonna have to like suck it up a little bit. But
And
in
smile through
reality,
your teeth.
right? Like, no, you was wrong and shut the fuck up. Like,
Yeah,
no.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's the same thing. So that's what I think we have to, because the generation before us didn't really do that with, me and, like they just didn't want to, why you crying? Stop crying. Man
Right.
up. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I think we have to be careful. And obviously it's something that white folks have to deal with, right? They can be free to display their emotions, but we have to we have to teach our kids to pick and choose when to display our emotions,
Right.
not just shut them off all the time.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I feel like that's changing though, man, because the concept of Karen now is keeping these white women in check.
Yeah, but that's more like checking the worst of them. At the end of the day,
Yeah.
think about how free you gotta be to be a Karen.
Right.
Oh, right.
And
No
what-
worries.
The danger is the microaggression.
The
Yes,
microaggressions.
that's the
yeah.
most dangerous
Yeah.
part about it.
I will say, and I had a weird experience. I had a boss who was like a director of a program, and she like came in my office and was talking to me, and she was like, she was white. She was like, Raven, I'm tired of like these kids on the train. It's just so much. They be like, nigga this, nigga that, and I was just sitting there like in my head.
Oh, she said N-word this or nigga this.
No, she said, nigga this, nigga that. And I was sitting there at my desk, and in my head, I'm like, did this bitch just
Yo,
say?
the microaggressions we go through at work.
And it wasn't that I was, like, so much offended versus, like, yo, you don't have no kind of decorum? Like,
Where's your professionalism?
read the room. And she was
cool, but you might get
she,
yourself killed out here, bro.
but she was a social worker.
Right.
So it's kind of like,
That proves your point.
now you a social worker working in this community with people of color, but you annoyed, and even if you just saying it as like you're repeating what they were saying, you don't have to say that.
Right.
Like,
You
And
know.
at the end of the day, that's their culture, right? Like, could you
Their
go
privilege.
to another
Their
community and, like, you're there to help them. You're not there to judge their
Right.
culture or say that their culture is this, that, wrong or bad. At the end of the day, you're there to help them. So it's like you're already sitting there and judging their culture as wrong, so that when you provide your social work, to a certain degree, you're going to be
affected.
you're going to be projecting what you perceive to be the right behavior or the wrong behavior.
Right.
Talk
If you're
about
saying
it.
shit like that, that's my sense of it. If that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Do you feel like, not just, I wouldn't necessarily even say your coworkers, but do you feel like social work, the practice, the way they teach it, is forgetting that point or not understanding that point, and is because of that, it's training social workers to not effectively treat or benefit communities of color? Does that make sense?
I don't think so. I think I think the good thing about me and Desi is that we bring ourselves into like the session, right? So we
Yeah.
could spit out all the like clinical jargon and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, it's like, hey girl, how you doing?
Yeah. I
And-
treat you as
Right. We're talking to you as an individual. I think what people lack and what's really important is like the engagement piece.
Yeah, the
Right.
connection. Like
The
you gotta have
connection,
that
yeah.
human connection,
Connection,
with
yeah.
people. Like
Yeah.
what we were saying before with clients. Like a
Yeah.
human connection,
is so
you
important.
can never go wrong.
Yeah.
In anything you do.
In anything.
You know?
I feel the same way in the classroom because I work in a junior high school. So
Oh,
yeah,
bless y'all.
Ain't no way.
Them kids be wild.
Ain't no way.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it. And so it's like that representation is important because you get the culture,
Right.
right? And so when you already know the culture, you're already halfway there,
Yeah.
and you're more effective at at passing on the information.
Yeah.
So that's 100%.
I take criminal over kids any day of the week. But all right, I feel like we could be talking forever here, and I'm
this is
enjoying
so much
it.
fun.
And I would definitely think we're gonna do a part 2.
Oh,
part
yeah.
2.
Let's catch up to you in like 6 months, see how your business doing and all that. You know?
All right, but before we get out here, we have an artist of the week, Jack.
Yes, our artist of the week this week is Jarrett Robertson, who is a photographer and a videographer that has captured almost every major protest that's happened in the past maybe 4-5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, he's been on the front lines. His images are crazy. Like if you find his Instagram, I think it's J Robertson. I believe that's what it is. And his images are very powerful, very essential to the culture and to understanding and recording history.
Yep. And on this week we'll have a blog post on our website dedicated to Jared.
Yes.
And his work and everything he's doing. So you can check out his IG and what he's doing on our website and learn more about him on our website, on our blog. But before we say our goodbyes and shout outs and highlight everything we're doing right now, we have a little moment to our sponsors. Ev.
Oh yeah. Shout out Hopkins Law Group. We appreciate y'all. Thank you for
Shout
letting
out
us
to
use the
y'all.
space and everything. It's beautiful. It's marvelous.
All right. So before we say our goodbyes, is there anything you want people to know? Any websites you want them to visit?
Instagram, Twitter,
Instagram.
Facebook.
How can they find you? Your business.
Find me. All right. So you guys can find me in Psychology Today. There's other websites. Just type my name. My Instagram is iHeartMe LLC, as well as TikTok. So I'm a cool modern therapist out there promoting mental health and well-being. And I'm accepting new clients. I do accept certain insurances. Right now, I accept United Healthcare. In the future, in the new year, in 22, I will accept Blue Cross Blue Shield, Cigna, Aetna, and I think there's one more, but I can't remember. But yeah, so
Right,
hit me up.
Hit up Desi.
I have social media, but I'm not as active as Desi.
You got a website?
My new goal is to be more active, but you can follow me at She Did 2 Dream. You can also find me on Therapy for Black Girls. You can find me on Psychology Today. I have a website. It's called Lighthouse Counseling Services.
Don't be afraid. It feels really good to reach out. It feels really normal, like you're talking to a friend. It should feel natural. And when you're looking for a therapist, you just know.
Yes.
You just know.
I tell people, don't be afraid to do consultations.
Right.
Ask people if they
Ask
offer free
tough
consultations.
questions, yes.
Because in that 15 minutes, you need to be able to see if you could engage with that person.
Yes.
So therapy is for you.
Yes, it is.
You gotta take care of your house.
Yes.
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 Gotta take care of your house. No one wants leaks, baby. All right. Catch us next week.
No. So what they're saying, right? Just be clear for our audience, because I actually read that article. I didn't look at the headline.
But let's
What they said was
dropping gems like we preaching. Don't overstep the line of my freedom of speaking. We cast to the world, put the words in the street and connecting all the minds of the people we reaching.
Yo,
jury's out.
tempted to get fenced in and contempting. Teach you motherfuckers a lesson and pressing the issue at hand. Nah, I don't care about objections, suspensions, and cell inspections. Just suppression of black lives is my passion. And love for my fam is everlasting. So stop gassing these asses with glasses. Cause in the end, I leave them where the trash is.
Jury's out. Jury's out. Jury's out. There's no doubt what we about, and we kick it to the masses. Trying to spit the law, as they laugh off our asses. Breaking down the latest shit, carrying crazy lady shit. Glad I ain't got no baby shit. COVID got me crazy, bitch. Damn, and you gon' have to edit this. The jury's out, so you can't even credit us. No statements null and void.